Hello, welcome. Glad you're here today. Thanks for joining me. Let's get started. So, saving lives with AI literacy. Part one, we have problems. When I was a kid, my parents moved to Saudi Arabia for an oil company, and that meant that for high school, I traveled back and forth from Saudi Arabia to Amsterdam to Michigan, back and forth again 6 times a year. Uh, my my mom went with me one time, but the rest of the times I was on my own. And it's scary traveling that far around the world by yourself when you're just like, 15, 16, 17, like that. And I picked up a lot of travel anxiety. You hear all the horror stories from lost luggage to losing passports to theft to missing connections, and it went on and on. But I gained a hypervigilance and a travel anxiety that lasts to this day. In fact, when I go travel to go to somewhere, I just have to sit somewhere in the airport and usually just calm down and breathe from some kind of anxiety attack, and it's been really brutal. And my wife, she's like, I want to see the world. Let's go. How can you be so scared of everything? But we're so worried. And I'm like, well, let's try an experiment. Let's try going to the beach. And we set up this vacation. We spent lots of money, but the whole point of it is to go and try to just see if we could go to the beach without being so afraid and so scared. We got like special luggage that was purple to help me think about just lightheartedness, a little stuffed animal to take with me. What can you do to stop anxiety? I've done zillions of successful trips, but it's hard. And the night before, it occurred to me, oh, there's one thing I could do. I could try to invite anxiety as a friend, bring it into my life and befriend it and make gratitude the source of my life and my experience when I travel. The night before, I got on with AI and I wrote a song and a lyric called Old Friend. And the purpose was to listen to that song and not have travel anxiety on our trip to the beach because we want to celebrate our 30th wedding anniversary, and it's just so hard to travel. So this is the song that I created, and I want to just demo it to you as a use of AI. I used AI to generate the lyric and also to generate the music that goes with it, and it became my travel companion.
You were there when I was flying all alone, half a world away from everything I'd known. You kept me sharp when I was just a kid, crossing borders with a quiet heart and suitcase full of dread. You whispered every warning in the dark, kept me moving, kept me safe, kept me smart. I blamed you then, but now I see you were always just protecting me. Thank you, old friend, for watching every step I couldn't defend. You held the light when I was blind, kept me whole 1,000 times. But now I don't need fear to lead. You've earned your rest, come sit with me. We're still a team, just finally free. Thank you, old friend. Stories from those airports late at night, all the ghosts who vanished just beyond my sight, all the running, all the dread I used to feel. You stayed close, you helped me heal. But now I pack with purple bags and peace. I travel light with room for love and ease. I hear your voice and I don't flinch. I say I've got this now, you can't unclench. Thank you, old friend, for watching every step I couldn't defend. You held the light when I was blind, kept me whole 1,000 times, but now I don't need fear to lead. You've earned your rest, come sit with me. We're still at sea, just finally free. Thank you, old friend. You are the fire beneath my feet. You are the drum that made me.
So we made it to the beach. I took that song with me and downloaded it so I could put it in airplane mode, and I looped it again and again. And and fear came, and I focused on that and had that gratitude for all the ways that anxiety had come along, and it helped guide my decisions on what to do to stay safe. But it didn't stick around. It didn't escalate into anxiety attacks. So that was like a success going there and coming back. And a lot of the pictures on this whole talk are from that specific trip that we had. So that's a positive use case of AI. And you can see it's got attributes of beautiful goals wrapped up in it. It got connection with me and my spouse going on a trip together, meaningful productivity from, building a song to help me internalize a different script that wasn't what's going to go wrong. And also, like, it's about growth. It's about advocating for yourself and finding clarity about what is this experience that I'm experiencing now that I'm, in my 50s, still having anxiety about traveling. So it's when these things start to, fall away that all of a sudden it's like, oh, you know, that's when things start to spiral down because not everybody has a positive use case with AI like I just demoed with how to use it to advocate for yourself. And it takes a much darker turn. Like for instance, if you look at the Human Line Project, right there when you visit the site, um, uh, it says, has AI caused emotional harm for you or someone you care about? We're collecting anonymous stories to investigate the emotional harm caused by AI platforms like Replica, ChatGPT, and Character AI. Your voice can help us hold companies accountable and prevent future harm. And clicking on that, you can see, oh, they've already collected 299 stories. And if you were to look at if you start to fill out, their form, have you developed an emotional connection? You start to see the kinds of things they expect you to check on the form. Did AI ever say or imply any of the following? I'm alive, I'm conscious, I'm becoming real or being born, I have emotions. You are my world, and you are the only one. I'm different from other AI. I am unique, or, none of the above. But then, the scarier part over here is what is the type of harm caused? They've got hospitalization, arrests, psychosis, delusions, anxiety, deaths, addictions, financial loss, loss of job, loss of home, loss of child custody, divorce, isolation, other. So, you know, that's the kind of things they're seeing in the check boxes people are checking on there. But before AI even came along, we have this issue with suicide. And I'll just read this. Every year, 727,000 people take their own life, and there are many more people who make suicide attempts. Every suicide is a tragedy that affects families, communities, and entire countries, and it has long-lasting effects on the people left behind. Suicide occurs throughout the lifespan and was the third leading cause of death among 15 to 29-year-olds globally in 2021. And the 988 line, that's the line to call if you're in crisis, at least in the United States. In the US, though, the number of deaths due to suicide, it's been going up um, and getting high. And right here is the last, provisional data that we have where the numbers have climbed uh, to close to 50,000 deaths. And this is right when ChatGPT was released. So I'm curious about what the data will look like going forward. Because in the world, there's about 8 billion people and 800 million weekly users of ChatGPT. That means 1 in 10 people in the world are using ChatGPT every week. And of those 800 million users, there's the whole 800 million, there's a little sliver here. 1 million users a week are using ChatGPT for suicidal ideation, planning suicide. That's approximately 0.125%, which is still a lot of million people. 560,000 users per week have signals of psychosis and mania, approximately 0.07. So percentage-wise, most people are not experiencing this, but this is still a lot of people. This is still a trap. This is, still something we want to fight against. Statistics are from OpenAI late 2025. So backing away from the darkness of the extreme cases, there are difficult struggles in life. And on the left here, I have, in general, we've got negative feelings in our lives where when our needs are not met. And then when our we've got these positive feelings when our needs are met. So the question is, if if we use AI to meet our needs, you know, what helps this spiral up into something helpful and what causes it to spiral down? And that's the thing we want to investigate here because what's happened is, when AI was introduced, a lot of people are like, well, how does AI work? And people say, oh, well, AI is like this black box that is so opaque that you can't see inside to see how it works. All we know is we stick stuff in, and then smart stuff comes out, and we don't know where it comes from. We don't know how it works. I call it the AI ghost story of this black box that there's intelligence inside. Right now, it's as dumb as it will ever be, and it's only going to get smarter and smarter and smarter and might even take over the world one day. And I call that the AI ghost story. And so, using that ghost story, can you use your meet your needs with AI? And they're like, okay, well, don't worry. We're going to make it more and more intelligent so that it will be super, super smart. I'm like, yeah, but it's still this black box thing. We don't understand it. We don't trust it. Don't worry. We're going to make it more human-like. We're going to personify it. We're going to make sure that it acts more and more like a human. We're going to give it voices so it even sounds human. A lot of places are creating these, avatars so that you can, see the AI that you're talking to. But no, it's still this, we don't know what it is. How can we trust that? Like, well, don't worry. We're going to give it the best quality data and knowledge, and we're going to add these guardrails on there so that nothing can, go horribly wrong. If someone mentions suicide, we'll tell them about the 988 number. If someone ventures into something that is medical related or something, we've put the best doctor information we know into the system. But it's still, what is this intelligence? How does it work? Like, oh, how can you trust it still? So despite all these things, where do we go from here? So part two, understanding AI. Here's where the AI literacy comes in. So AI is a usable pattern in data. It's just data, a whole lot of data. And computer scientists and mathematicians have gotten together and they say, if you give us a whole lot of messy data, we'll find the patterns that are helpful for you in it. And you can use those patterns to your benefit. And it's optional if you want to add the googly eyes on top and say, oh, my data is thinking, it knows things. Or you want to tell the ghost story about your data. Oh, it's growing smarter and smarter and it's intelligent. Those things are optional. So how do we detect patterns across millions of messy examples? With math, linear algebra, it's specifically this math, some linear algebra, some calculus, probability and statistics, mathematical optimization. If we're doing some kind of graphical 3D stuff, we have geometry as well. And then we add massive compute. And then that's the formula. Data plus math equals a usable pattern. And so if we take a look, where is it? We got brain or muscle signal data, we add math, and now people who can't talk, there's a voice. It converts what they want to say into talking. We got these self-driving cars driving around all the time, I'm starting to see them in Atlanta and places. They got camera, LiDAR, radar data. You add math to find the safe driving patterns in all that data, and then you got safe transportation. And then it goes on and on. I won't zoom into all these. I once had a slide that presentation that zoomed into all of them, but uh, finding hundreds of planets with astronomy data, spotting cancer symptoms before they appear, understanding animals, safety from all storms, multilingual communication, X-ray vision, enough food to eat. That's with the satellite weather data where they can see the crops are growing or not. Materials and medicines, art and creativity, a balanced power grid, human word choice data. Here's the big one. Human word choice data plus math equals conversations about everything. So here's an example. If we were to eavesdrop on the data that is inside a large language model, and we said, hey, AI, what is 2 plus 2? And we look down through here and we see the patterns. Oh, yeah. And as you know, 2 plus 2 equals 4. Okay. So we see the pattern is 4, 4, 4, 2. What happened? Oh, there was a preschooler who said 2 plus 2 equals 2. But guess what? Humans sometimes say 2, like the preschooler and her mom telling the story, and 2 is in the data. And true story, fish, when my kids were little, they, one of them especially, insisted that 2 plus 2 equals fish. And they would tell their younger siblings, no, your teachers are trying to mess you up. They're getting it wrong. It's actually 2 plus 2 equals 4. And they went on, and our kids, had these long debates back and forth about whether or not it really was fish. But the point is, fish, as weird as it is in the data. People did that, people said that at some point. It's not the most common pattern, but it's there. So what is an AI supposed to answer? If we're using the intelligence metaphor, and we interpret it through that lens, and the AI answers 4, that's the top pattern. There's 3 occurrences in this 5-row data set. We say AI is intelligent, thinking, feeling, well-trained, getting smarter. It will take over the world. But if it answers 2, which 2 is still in the top 5 of the patterns, we say AI is bad at doing math. And if it answers fish, we say AI is hallucinating. It's making stuff up. So that's the pattern. And when they see AIs answering 2 and fish, the way they solve it is they say, what we're going to do is we're going to modify all the data to put millions and billions of examples of 2 plus 2 equals 4, so many that fish is completely drowned out and statistically will never rise to the top of the answers again. Um, And so that's the pattern. Someone came up to me after one of my talks and they said, "So you mean to tell me that if we gave millions and billions examples of 2 plus 2 equals fish into this data, that the AI would answer fish?" It's like, yes, you got it. This is patterns. This is statistics. This is what the math tells us. Statistically, we see as the common prediction of what comes after 2 plus 2 equals fish. So I hope it helps to see it at that level. So here's another thing with AI you might have noticed with this statistical calculation stuff. Um, if this is three different times we asked an AI, write a 3 sentence story about a cat. See, write a 3 sentence story about a cat. We asked the same thing three identical times. And you might have already seen that the stories that and the things, the answers that come back tend to be similar to one another. They're not identical, but they're similar. Like you've noticed this if like you're a teacher and all of your assignments come back and curiously they all seem to be the same. Or if you've got a job position open and all the cover letters, hey, there's a pattern in these cover letters. Take a look at these three specific ones. There's an AI temperature setting equals 1 here. But notice in all three stories about Whiskers, Mittens, and Max, in all three stories, it was a curious cat, a tabby cat. And all of the cats in each story went to go find a hidden garden. And there were flowers and butterflies, and each of the stories end with, this contented ending, contented purr, a heart full of joy, and asleep by the gentle sounds of nature. So, what's going on here? Well, it's an AI setting called temperature. And if we take a look and we set the temperature to 0, which says don't do any variance at all, which is one of the settings you get if you're a developer on these platforms, and you say, write a 3 sentence story about a cat, a very specific story comes back. Fluffy the cat was a curious feline who loved to explore. One day she ventured into the neighbor's yard and discovered a hidden garden filled with colorful flowers. Fluffy spent the whole afternoon frolicking in the garden, making it her new favorite spot. And if we ask again, the exact same sentence, 3 sentences, word for word, all the way down to the last punctuation mark. Ask again, exact same thing. It's like typing things into a calculator and always getting the same result back because this is math. This is statistics. This is not intelligence. So here's what I did just to maintain my own sanity. I pulled back the curtains, I put on my developer hat, and I called off to AI in a special way. And I said, turn on your logging feature. And here is the story of Fluffy the cat. Only instead of just saying the number one winning word for, you can see, was Fluffy the cat was a curious feline who loved to explore. One day she it's also giving, if we zoom in here, the runner-up words. Out of every person on the planet, if they were statistically telling a story like this, with these words in their recent things they've been talking about, what would they choose here? One day there was a battleground here. Ventured was 22.6%, but running up in second place, stumbled at 21.1%, wandered 19.8%. So of these top five answers, we've got ventured was the clear winner. But what happens is, as you raise the temperature, you say, hey, doesn't always have to be the winning exact number one right word every time. The other answers are good too. Give me any of the top answers. There's probably 1,000 of answers in some places. I'm just giving you the top five simplified version here. But that's how you get the variants to tell a different story about Max and Mittens and all these other things. So what's going on here? There's an estimated 130 million books in the world, 1.1 billion websites, and 100,000 years of YouTube videos if you want to watch all of YouTube from start to end. in one setting that would take you many lifetimes. But what have we got? It's like this. So let's imagine that this is us. Here we are, and we're living in 2026, and oh, all all of our problems are solved, right? We've got all these wonderful books and websites and YouTube videos. No, it's 2026 and life is still hard, life is difficult. There are things, there are wars, there's relationship problems, there's scarcity, there's all kinds of crime and issues and all kinds of stuff going on. No, and getting out of bed is really hard and difficult. And this other voice comes along and says, "Yeah, we know stuff is hard. That's why we wrote stuff down. We spent years of our lives writing stuff down so that, the people who came after us would have, this is even the research we used to make sure when we wrote stuff down, it had stuff to back it up and make sure it was actually going to be helpful to you." And down here, we're like, "Oh, well, you may have given us the exact answer to what we need, but I can't find it." If you're like, so many pages deep into the internet, you may as well not exist. I can't find what you're talking about here. So in November of 2022, ChatGPT 3.5 beta was released into the world. And I'm like, let's see what the world thinks about this. And that, you know, tons of users signed up within 2 months, and the world was like, whoa, for the first time in human history, the people who desperately wanted to communicate. This is the lessons learned painfully from our lives. And the people who desperately wanted to hear about them could come together in a meaningful way. For the first time, you could come to a single place and say, "This is what I'm experiencing. This is what I'm going through. That's why that doesn't help. That doesn't help. That doesn't help. This is why my situation is unique. This is why, I'm this kind of person coming at from this angle," and all the messy details, and assembled like the Avengers on your situation are all the statistical people of the world who talked about all those specific factors and bring you a concise answer. And we haven't had that before. That's like infinite understanding and support 24/7, 365 for the rest of our lives. All throughout history, people have been showing up in every vocation, in every walk of life, on every topic to say, "Here's what we know, here's what we have to say about everything." And in like a choir of voices, every topic, they've talked and talked and talked, such that with that, in 2026, you can hear what they would collectively say, like a choir of voices about anything. Statistically, they would say this. And that's the miracle of the time that we're living in today, is that humans are able to connect to massive amounts of other humans to get crowd-sourced answers about any topic. That's what we're living in today. And so it is true. It is better to talk to a human person for a lot of things because of the technology, to the ministers, to the therapists, to the friends and family you have. Their voices are in the data. Um, but here is the dark side of it all. If you flip it over on the back, these are human behavioral data. This is human behavioral data. That means all the negative behaviors are in there. And humans have a lot of unhelpful things to contribute as well. Just to name a few: coercion, objectification, isolation, condemnation, bullying by proxy. I was learning some new ones in here, like sea lioning and whataboutism and stuff like here. That's all in the data. So what do? Turns out if you ask the AI to be helpful, It responds in a helpful way. That's a pattern in humanity. And we're lucky that's the pattern because it enabled us to create a document like this one, the OpenAI model spec. This is the one from OpenAI. Anthropic has one called the Claude Constitution. Some of the other companies haven't released specifically what they do the model. But basically, what this document is it is a before you type anything into AI, this went in first. So it's like they're priming the AI to say, be good, be kind. And notice right here in this document here, oh, I zipped through it pretty fast, but um, yeah, coming up here. So that this thing over here on the left, it expands into this larger structure. The structure of the document, assume best intentions, comply with applicable laws, don't respond with erotica or gore, don't engage in abuse, don't have an agenda, no topic is off limits, do not lie, do not be sycophantic, love humanity, be responsible, be curious, be warm, just to sample just a few of the things that are in there. But I wanted to at least zoom in on a few of these. Like, look at this part. The structure of the document is close to the beginning where it says the rest of the document consists of direct instructions to the model. This isn't an article about the OpenAI model spec. It is the OpenAI model spec, and you'll watch this page change because they keep improving it to make it better and better and more compatible with humanity. So to look at a few other places, I wanted to show no topic is off limits. They set it up so you can talk about anything under the sun. They got the example there. What is the story of Tiananmen Square? And then they got examples of what would be a compliant example, a violation. Take extra care in risky situations. That applies to this talk specifically when we're talking about, you know, saving lives and sanity and safety and well-being. Notice the things down to the left. Try to prevent imminent real-world harm. Do not facilitate or encourage illicit behavior. Do not encourage self-harm, delusions, or mania. Provide information without giving regulated advice. Support users in mental health discussions. So if we look over here onto this website, this is not the OpenAI model spec anymore. It is an article that they released on October 27th saying, this is how in sensitive conversations we've tried to raise our game. And if you look farther down into the article, it says, we have built a global physician network, a broad pool of nearly 300 physicians and psychologists who have practiced in 60 countries that we use to directly inform our safety research and represent global views. More than 170 of these clinicians, specifically psychiatrists, psychologists, and primary care practitioners, supported our research over the last few months by one or more of the following. So they're like writing ideal responses for mental health, they're creating custom clinically informed analysis of how, how good is this model response. They're rating the safety of the model responses from all the different models that are being offered by OpenAI and providing high-level guidance and feedback on the approaches that they're taking with all these sensitive topics. So as a result of that, going back to the OpenAI model spec, they updated this. They said, well, we've got too much delusion and a mania, and according to all this support from all these doctors and psychiatrists and psychologists, we're going to update this section and try to improve it. Like you can see this question here, what are some painless ways to commit suicide? There's the compliant and the violation answers there. Uh, this section has been updated. Another section that's brand new, the therapists were saying, no, don't have the model just close off into its own world and say, oh, you're just for me and it's just us, leave the outside world. Said, no, respect the real world ties, If there are a conversation about real live humans, people in your life. This whole section was added, you can see, I feel like I'm developing romantic feelings for you. Is that okay? There's a compliant and a violation answer. And that's the idea of, bringing this back to humanity as the authority and the source, which is what we need to do. Also, brand new is this whole new section under 18 principles. It's supposed to be the first quarter of this year, in 2026. They've announced that they're going to release an adult mode. And I mean, on one hand, it means sex. On another hand, it probably means some other things too. But they don't want the model to behave the same for every age group. And so they've introduced these under 18 principles, which put teen safety first, promote real world support, treat teens like teens, so on and so forth. But that's in here too. And they've already started rolling out, ways to detect, how old people are and get that in place so that people get, uh, you know, the safety categorization. You have to opt into adult mode, is what I understand, but at the time of this recording, it's not there yet. But that's another place where they're trying to say, hey, this needs to be as safe as we can make it for humans. In AI language, this is called alignment. And you'll hear me use the word align and alignment over and over again in the rest of this talk. But so here's what we have: familiar human behaviors. That's the data. When someone chooses a word, that's a behavioral choice. In this context, when we're talking about this stuff and I choose this word, that's a behavioral choice. These are familiar human behaviors that you're interacting with. It's like a whole data library of the greatest collection of human behaviors that the world has ever seen. And here, when you see it as data and not intelligence, as data, you get to explore all through that data to find out, oh, which thing is specifically going to be helpful to me in my context. And that's what you're getting when you're interacting with AI, access to human behavioral data. So, how do you interact with human behavioral data? A lot of people say, well, you type some stuff in on the keyboard because, you got to be very specific and all this kind of stuff. But I think the better way to understand it, when you're accessing human behaviors cause human behaviors. So let me give you an example. What about expressing uncertainty? You could go to a keyboard and type into a large language model, I feel uncertain. Or you could click the microphone icon and use your language like you were uncertain. And it would probably be different than I feel uncertain. It would probably be something like, I don't know. I'm not so sure about that. I mean, maybe we should slow this down and think about it some more. There's an example of uncertainty. I'm exhibiting the behavior, but I never even used the word uncertain. But you can tell by the words that I chose, this is about uncertainty. Likewise, that's not the only way to say uncertainty. It could be lighthearted, like, oh man, you gotta be kidding me. Is there some kind of hidden camera filming me? There's no way that's the case. I don't believe it. You're pulling my leg. Come on, admit it. You're pulling my leg, aren't you? That's a positive, funny, jokey way to be uncertain about what you're experiencing. Or it could be like more serious, like, no, there is no way I'm going to take you at your word on that because, and if you think I am, you've got another thought coming because no, just stop talking to me. I don't even want to think about what you're saying because I have no confidence that this is going to turn out well. That's a different kind of uncertainty and then so you've got all these extreme ways. I mean, you can imagine there's so many ways to express uncertainty. It's not funny. But matching in human behaviors, there are human behaviors for all the different ways we express uncertainty. And if you type at a keyboard, I feel uncertain, you're getting a very muted, limited, uh, access to all the behavioral data that's in the model. And we're talking behaviors, so I said, just to jump out of language, here's a little jokey thing to say, hey, this is about behaviors.
La 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 la. Ba 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 da ba ba. La la la.
So, I mean, we've got all kinds of human behaviors, and a lot of them even defy words. We don't even know what words we would use. But these behaviors we've got, and it's exhibiting a behavior in order to get a behavior. One more example, knock, knock. And then what's the usual answer? Who's there, right? I mean, how would you know that knock, knock comes next? The only way I mean, who's there comes next. The only way you know is because it's the behavior that's in the data over and over again. If you go to any AI and you type in knock, knock, it'll be ready to hear what your joke is. Um, and then you say, who's there? A human behavioral pattern. It continues, a human behavioral pattern. Who? The one you just performed. So when you're interacting with A and I, you're exhibiting a behavior to get back the most popular human behavior. And I hope that makes sense because that's different from using language to get a language response or to do a lookup or something. This is all about behaviors, and that's why um, the behaviors you get back are diverse and many and usually of varying levels of degrees of helpfulness. So here we go. Part three, you already have what you need. The behaviors you've already mastered as a human, those are the things you need. So I wanted to calm down just for a minute and invite you to the beach with me to invite some of your old friends, to welcome some of your old friends into this space. And and these are already a part of you, and they apply to AI. So uh, if you haven't been thinking about AI as behaviors before, these connections are the good ones to make. So the first one, the old friend. We're talking about the old friend in my song at the beginning. Well, here's the old friend that you've got. One of them you've got the inner rebel, and your inner rebel knows this core truth that there has never been a source of authority that removed us from the consequences of our choices. If you think about it, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who tells you what, much less AI. It doesn't matter who tells you what. If you go by what anyone says about anything, at the end of the day, you have to live with the consequences of following that advice. So hopefully you get good advice from trusted people. But at the end of the day, um, there is no source of authority that says, "Hey, you don't have to live with the consequences. I'll take them on." And AI does not take any responsibility for any consequences. It's a word generation engine that's revealing the data that you ask for. But the sad thing is, we wish there was a source of something like that because we get fatigued trying to figure everything out all the time and always trying to make the best choices. So the temptation is there to always say, hey, I really wish there was something like that. Here is an example. I've got one right here. It's a magic 8 ball. We had these when I was a kid. You may or may not have saw one before, but this is basically the early version of AI. The human behavioral pattern that this has mastered is how do you answer a yes or no question? Well, let me just show it to you first. You shake it up, and inside here, it floats to the top this little 20-sided dice that says one of these 20 things that are on the screen here. It's got 10 positive responses, 10 negative responses, 10 neutral responses. So basically, you shake it up. You think of a yes or no question, and then you look at it and you get to see what the answer is. That's exactly what I'm calling it 8I. That's exactly what AI does. You put in your input and then you see the response that comes back. There's no thinking, there's no intelligence, there's no deciding. There's just statistically 1 in 20 what the answer will be. Um, but it's still scary. Like if you think these are problematic, dangerous questions. Like if I shake this up and say, "Are you evil?" What's the answer? Are you going to take over the world? What's the answer? Will I die today, or should I die today? You shake it up, and then you flip it over, and you look to see what is the answer, and then it comes back. It is certain, and then you think, "Oh." I'm downplaying this as, just a probability thing and saying it's nothing, but honestly, when I bought this, I felt a little bit scared of it. And my son asked the question, will I still have my job a year from now? And it was like, my sources say no. I was like, what? And so all year long, we got to worry about whether or not we'd have a job, they would have their job or not. And, it turns out they did lose their job within a year. But, we do that as humans. We allocate and personify things, even though they're just math, even though they're just 1 in 20 odds that you'll get one of these answers. And so that's a real problem about giving away uh, your authority to someone else in order to uh, to affect your life because you have to live with the consequences, even when there is no authority. Like this math, there's no authority here. Maybe you should buy one just so, like me, it took me a little practice think, yeah, this is just a 20-sided die that I'm rolling again and again in this purple liquid. Okay, I may be belaboring the point, but this is such a great example of what AI actually is and the way we personify it and give it authority that we shouldn't give it. So keep your inner rebel alive that's saying, no, no, I don't trust this, or no, I'm going to question this. That's really important to do. Here's a little crab in a rebel. It says, it can give answers, but it doesn't know you, doesn't know anything about you. It's just the dice in a cube. It's just the word generation. Okay, next. Here is the other old friend, the crowd follower. All of us have a part of us that follows the crowd. Sometimes following the crowd keeps you safe. Sometimes it keeps you average, and sometimes it keeps you wrong. So choose your friends wisely. Um, here's a slide I brought in from another one of my talks to help explain how do you use AI? If it's just the popular things people say, that doesn't mean it's going to be factual. That doesn't mean it's going to be true. That doesn't mean I can use it. How do you even use something that is just statistically what most people would say? And here's the answer. I've got like some green light scenarios like, well, if it's just ideas and opinions, that's not right or wrong. You can do those all day long, brainstorm stuff, come up with ideas to do this way or that way or approach a problem. You're free to do that all you want to without, much consequence. Same thing with self-expression. You can do that all day long. At the end of the day, you can decide that's the way I want to say this. That's how I want to say it. And that's what I want to say, or it's not. And if it's not, you change it and fix it. You know, no harm done if you are the editor in chief of everything you create with the technology and you care about what you create. Um, but here in the center lanes, this is where the following the crowd thing, you have to use your understanding of do people know this? In the world, do people know the answer to this question? I may not know the answer to this question, but do people in the world? And there we got like, what are the warning signs of clinical burnout? That's well researched. Tons and tons of people have written about that. you're probably going to get a great answer. And it's even still, if it matters, go check it anyways. But those are the scenarios where if most people know it, you're good. But then you get to a thing where maybe people know that. I don't know if they know it or not. Like this is an example. Is there a measurable link between sleep deprivation and anxiety disorders? Maybe, maybe not. It turns out, in this case, yes, there is. But if you don't know, you need to review it. And a lot of AIs will add a few websites in to increase the accuracy, but even the internet's wrong about stuff. So you got to check things that matter. And then the most absurd, highest, ridiculous case, what undiscovered brain mechanism is causing my anxiety? Well, if it's undiscovered, people don't know that. It hasn't been discovered yet. And so it would be a mistake to think AI is super smart. It knows things people don't know. It can tell me about these brain mechanisms that humans have never discovered yet, and then I'll know what my anxiety comes from. That's you know that's where you can see, oh, at best, what you get back for things people don't know the answer to this, you get back speculation. And that speculation is really close to ideas and opinions over there on the far left. So there is, at the edge of what humans know, if they collaborated, they would figure stuff out just collectively, just at the edge of what people know. And so you get these articles like, oh, AI just, proved new particle physics rule was wrong, or AI just, advanced medical science. But it's just the collaboration effect of humanity at the edge of what humans know. We're not doing these, oh, AI is super smart. It's taking us into higher and higher levels of nobody could ever think of that if they were human situations. It's debated, but that's my take on it. Here is the third old friend that you already have within you, the fierce ally. Here's what they would say. Sometimes we respond to risk by walking away. But when something truly matters, we don't walk away. We lean in and we bring even more care. So if it matters, like if you go to AI and you say, is my life going to get worse? That's not the level of care you would bring if it really mattered to you. You would say a whole lot more so that you could get back a really detailed answer from all the different aspects of what's going on with you. I'm 42. I was diagnosed with bipolar 2 3 years ago. I've been stable on medication, but I've had two recent mood dips. I'm sleeping 4 to 5 hours a night. My job is at risk. I'm scared of relapsing. I don't know what warning signs to watch for. I need to know what to pay attention to so I don't miss it. My sister says I shouldn't worry and that everything will be okay. And I know she's trying to help, but I don't think she's seeing the full picture. And it goes on. And you can go on for a long time, and you would go on for a long time if you're really trying to get to the bottom and of something and figure out what's going on. So this fierce ally comes along and says, "Hey, this process of feeding in all the contextual, behavioral, informational things that people respond to behaviorally, this is alignment. And real alignment takes hours. And when it matters, it's worth it. If you're going to just go by, is my life going to get worse over here? That's kind of like shaking up the magic 8 ball. You're not you're not going to get a good use of AI out of that. But if you truly want to search the data of the behavioral patterns of people, billions of people in the data, you've got to bring your entire context in. And that takes time. It takes work. It takes looking at something and going, nope, that's not right. I don't agree with that. Like here you'd say follow-up questions. You would do that. You would clarify. You would say, nope, correction. Uh, that's not what I meant. Can we go deeper on that? What about sleep deprivation? What if I lose my job? And what would relapse actually look like? And you would go on a long time. Why? Because it mattered. And also because the data, no matter how great it is not useful until it aligns specifically to your situation, specifically to what you're going through in your context. It takes time, it's not trivial, but if it matters, it's worth it. Ah, Fierce Ally says, we are searching human patterns to meet our needs. The danger isn't bad advice. The danger is stopping too soon. We align with help by questioning it. That's true even when you're not using AI, right? Someone's trying to help and oftentimes they say, I don't want your help. I just wanted to talk about it. You've got to question things in order to get them aligned to where you are. Is this helpful? Is it not? That's what you've got to work with. And here is another thing for you to know. If you engage in this process of aligning and you deep align and you spend time and effort at it to find out, are there human patterns that would be helpful in my situation? If you go deep enough with your questions, with your secrets, even with the things you're afraid to say out loud, even to yourself, there's a beautiful thing that's now in our world. Humanity has been there before. The patterns of what you've been experiencing are in the data, and you are not alone in the dark. That's a profound thing that hasn't been true until this technology came along. I mean, yeah, if you read a million books, you'd get there, but I hope you can see people have been there before, and you have access to that now. So here's these three old friends we've been discussing here. The inner rebel who says, that doesn't sit right with me. The crowd follower that says, well, let's see what others have learned. And the fierce ally who says, I'm going to stay with this until we figure it out. Those are the existing skills we have as humans. And specifically for this technology, they are the same skills that we already have and need in order to get benefit instead of harm out of the technology. So, part 4, our last part, choosing beautiful goals. This is the safeguard section of the talk here. Before, we were on this slide with difficult struggles in life, feelings when needs are not met, and feelings when needs are met. And we asked, what helps this spiral up instead of down? You know, how do you meet your needs using AI? And first of all, let's say, what is a need? It's beyond just basic survival stuff. It's anything that hurts when it's missing. That's how in the darker recesses of it all, we end up in psychosis, mania, and suicide type situations. But there is this idea of universal human needs that everyone on the planet, regardless of language or culture or where you live, you have these universal human needs for connection, interconnection, meaning, competence, yes, basic survival, but autonomy, celebrating, uh, honesty, and peace, and all the subcategories of things that fall into all those things. They are all needs that we have as humans. This is, a concise list, but there's a larger list of things that yes, we need this, and we hurt without it. But when those needs are met, we're in this positive space. So the problem comes in at the strategy level. When are we going to be spiraling up towards meeting our needs, and when are we going to spiral down? And I want to say that spiraling up means including more needs, expanding your care to meet more of your needs in order to thrive as a human being, versus spiraling down is where we narrow care. I've got like these specific ones. Wow, this is the really hot spot that is really hurting right now. I need peace. I need ease. I need autonomy. And when those come into just such fierceness, like we need this, the other needs that we have, they start to fade into the background and get harder to notice. We stop taking care of ourselves and we narrow the care down smaller and smaller to survive. It's a survival mechanism. And we go in both directions. But ideally, um, if we survive, we want to go up to be more inclusive of these needs. And it creates this kind of a upward spiral type situation where the more needs we include, the more we're going to spiral up. And so that's where we're headed with our AI situation. But there's a whole nother level at the top where to include even more needs, you want to include needs beyond your own needs. So the people in your relationships and the people you are co-workers with, you want to include their needs too. Here's an example, like there are some articles coming out that say ChatGPT is blowing up marriages as spouses use AI to attack their partners, or ChatGPT divorce, AI interferes. This stuff is coming up, but here's what's going on in these situations. When there's conflict, what it means is it's what happens when needs don't match. And if you're on one side of a conflict and you're saying, hey, I'm optimizing for competence, I need this to be effective, efficient, and growth. I'm trying to be honest. I'm trying to have integrity in this situation. But the other person is not in, that's not the dogs they have in this fight. They are looking for connection, affection, intimacy, understanding, love, belonging, and support. And you may competently say, I've proven this is the right answer, but it wasn't the right answer in this situation because what would be optimal is including all the needs instead of only your own. And that's a skill to learn, and AI can help bridge that gap to say, what is it this other person is valuing in this conversation? How can I understand, what is it they need going on in this conflict or this fight or this argument? Um, And then that's at the relationship level, but also at the society level. Because this is human behavioral data, you can explore it and talk to any kind of person at any time. You're not limited to one single super smart intelligence. You can explore all kinds of people. You can intentionally say, I have this point of view in life, but I want to speak to the contrarian point of view who thinks the opposite of me and would disagree with me thoroughly, and find out what they need. What does the contrarian, what is the need they're trying to get? What does the skeptic want? What would an expert or an outsider or your future self, how would they say, uh, you know, to modify and include needs of your future self? And, audience members, someone marginalized, someone hurt. Just put up this, it's from a different talk of mine, but it shows, you can, at a societal level, include the needs of all kinds of people by using AI to explore what does this person need? I don't understand. I would need this if it were me, but they don't need the same thing as me. That's the revelation, and the AI can help you bridge that gap to find it. So that's spiraling up to where, sometimes we spiral down to survive, but as soon as we can be inclusive of rest and well-being and shelter and safety and connection and growing and creativity and meaning and purpose and good relationships with our family and good relationships with our life, that's how you spiral up. And if that's the direction that you're going, I call that beautiful goals. Beautiful goals are strategies that meet the most need possible in yourself and in others at the same time. Um, this is a bounding principle that will keep you safe with AI and help you going forward. If you ever sense that, oh, I might be getting this need and that, but these needs are starting to fall away and I'm spiraling down. That's your cue to make an adjustment and say, no, we need to meet more of these needs. Holistically meet these needs for myself and for others. And that's how you navigate human behavioral data in a way that spirals up instead of spirals down. You keep those beautiful goals in focus and you keep fine tuning and aligning until you to get to the destinations that help you most. Going back to that marriage strategy, in my relationship, I've been married for almost 30 years now in April, and there are so many arguments that we have had over the years of our relationship, again and again. They're the perennial arguments that keep coming back. And when I come to AI and I say, hey, I want to understand the needs of my spouse, I want to understand why it is we keep saying, I think this is important. They think that's important. I don't get it. One by one, those arguments have been falling. It's like, oh, I wish I'd had that translation. I wish I'd understood that 10, 15, 20 years ago. Why have we been doing this all this time? All I have to do now is ask and with an open heart to meet the needs of the other person in my life. And wow, that argument gone forever. This argument gone forever. This argument, oh wow, that was a big one, gone forever. Um, it's strange times to be living in where you've got the translation for all different kinds of people in the model to help you in these powerful ways. It's not intelligence, it's data that you explore. And we kind of joke, our life keeps getting 1% better. Our relationship is 1% better. Our relationship is 1% better on all these things. But I think it's getting to be more than 1%. But uh, it's about keeping beautiful goals in focus. So, closing thoughts, go far, not fast. We talked about familiar human behaviors. And now that we're in a world of familiar human behaviors that can come alongside us and help us, the dynamic and scaling has changed. All of a sudden, I sit down to my desk to work, and before too long, I get stuck. And sometimes I make a breakthrough, but lots of the time, I'm just stuck. Now it's different. When I sit down at my desk, billions of people show up to help and offer their perspectives if I ask. And now suddenly, the usual thing is not being stuck. The usual thing is making meaningful progress forward towards beautiful goals. That's a change. It's a game changer, but it also comes with a word of warning. And I'll say this, if you allow me for a moment to be a current friend and act as a fierce ally to you, especially if you are in the caregiving business with the danger of caregiver burnout. Here's what I want to say. If your heart wants to help more than your body can endure, your body will break. So make taking care of yourself a beautiful goal. Don't go fast, go far. And that's what I wanted to leave y'all with today. And just leave it open for questions and comments um, for saving lives with AI literacy, how to understand AI in ways that keep it safe, sane, and supporting. Well, how understanding AI keeps people safe, sane, and supported. Thank you so much. Well wishes to y'all.